All right, good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back, TwinStick Garage. Look at that peat. Man, it's a thing of beauty. So obviously in the last episode, I brought Snowman and LBL back from the truck show. The previous Saturday, I did some work on my cab over, kind of a tribute to the Iron Duke used in the Jerry Reed movie. Highballing. And I did a bunch of work on the wiring. I'm trying to wire in this new custom dash. So I'm getting close. I've powered it up and I did a whole bunch of connections and kind of sorting things out. And that's on my Patreon channel if you want to go check that episode out. But I'm really hoping to get this truck back on the road by next year. And then obviously the TransAM. When the missus was leading me with Snowman to the Let's Go truck show, she was going, you know, this would be a whole lot cooler if I had the TransAM to go in front of you.
I'll be driving this one. Hey, blocker. You'll be driving the truck. This is Bandit 1, and that is... Bandit 2.
So I'm going to try and get this car ready to go for next summer. So that's going to be the project. Once you finish one, you got to lean into the next one, and that's what I plan on doing. All right, so before I get rolling on the TransAM, I thought I'd give you a little behind the scenes on how I actually make all these videos. And to be honest, I don't do anything special. I just film everything on an iPhone, and then whatever I film, whatever clips I film on a Saturday, I edit them all up on Sunday morning before the family wakes up. And I just use iMovie. It's an app on my phone, and I do everything on my phone. I post the video, and it releases on Thursday, which is what you're watching now. But when I'm not holding the phone, I actually use tripods. I've got suction cups and I've got neck holders and various other things. But normally, for most of the filming, I use a tripod. And I've kind of had an evolution of tripods because inevitably what happens is it'll fall off the scaffold or the ladder that I tape it to, or I drop something heavy on it and I break the tabs and then the legs don't work anymore and I have to get a new one. So this is the one I've been using for about the past year, but the legs are loose on it and it's kind of annoying. So the last time I was walking through Cabela's Bass Pro Shop, I spotted these tripods. And this looks like a real heavy duty one. And you're probably wondering, well, why does Cabela's have tripods? But what they use them for there is guys will put spotting scopes on there to spot, sheep or elk on the next mountain range over. But I thought this would be perfect, a nice heavy duty tripod to film and hopefully hold the camera steady and hopefully I don't drop anything on it. And and I'll continue to get good film footage going forward. So with that, I want to work on picking up where I left off. So where did I leave off in the last episode? I mean, it's been a while. I got working on the peat there and it took so much time finishing the paint and finishing it up. But I was doing these frame connectors with solid bushings. And in the last TransAM episode, I actually got pretty frustrated because these bolts that hold the bushings on there, I mean, you can see how old and rotten they are. It's over 40 years old. But the nut on the top of this kind of frame rail, not really a frame rail, additional support to the body, is just tack welded on there. So when I tried to loosen this nut off, what ended up happening was it just turned it. So I was reading the F-Body Camaro and Firebird Fire Chicken manual, and they say when that happens, you've actually got to cut a little window in the floor pan from above and to get to that nut. So I think that's what I'm going to do is measure that out, try and figure out where this is on the floor pan on the inside, and then cut an opening, and then I can get to that nut so I can actually get this guy off of here. Let's see how I did. Oh, not bad. pretty close. All right, now what's turning? Yeah, I can't figure this out. So the nut isn't broken, and the nut is just this big square block that sits underneath this bracket. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the cutter in all the way to cut it all the way over, but I want to actually save this cage because I'll bend it back down and weld it closed. But I don't see how it could be spinning because it's a rectangular shape, so it wouldn't turn. And again, it doesn't appear to be broken, so I'll put some coil on it and then give it a zap with the impact and figure out what's going on here. Oh. Unless the bolt broke. A little more horsepower. Unreal. So there was nothing wrong with it. Oh, I don't know what I was on when I was down there and it was just spinning. Okay. Guess I didn't need to cut a hole in the floor. Bummer, man. Oh well. I'll put the new bolt in and the new bushing. And then, like I said, I can weld this all closed. And it'll be under the carpet so no one will see it. But man, that's weird. I could have swore when I had a strong bar on there, the whole thing was just turning and it didn't have any, it wasn't catching on anything. Oh well, live and learn. I think I know what happened. So this guy is supposed to be tack welded on there, and as you can see, it's loose. So I think when I had the breaker bar on there and I went to turn it, I felt it release. And so I didn't realize it was captured by this little cage. So if I would have just kept going, I could have taken it out of there. But when I felt it loose, I figured it already broke the weld and I wasn't gonna be able to turn it. I should have just used the impact. But now you know, if you got an F-body at home and you're doing the same thing, you guys go ahead and get the impact on there and zap it out of there because this cage will hold that rectangular nut in place. And this forward bolt here on the subframe assembly, I was having trouble with as well. Again, I think I used the breaker bar and felt it get loose. But I reached up here and it's the same idea. There's a little cage and there's the rectangular nut in there. So I think I can probably zap this guy out too if I just keep going. Turning. Oh, that's gonna be trouble because I can't put, I'm gonna get that out of there. This fender's in the way, or the inner fender, and you can't get a wrench on it. Oh man, this one's gonna be tough. Yeah, I can feel the cage is kind of opened up and is allowing it to turn. Damn. How am I gonna, I wonder if I wedge something in there maybe? Yeah, I'll try that. Because I just need to get the bolt out and then I can put the new nut in. And once it's tight, it should be good. No, it just ain't happening. So I'm gonna have to take the wheel off and the inner fender off to get at it. What a pain. Well, at least I'm learning how to take apart a TransAM. It actually wasn't too bad. At the end of the day, folks, it's all just nuts and bolts. So I finally got to this opening, and I guess I'm gonna try and straighten that, hammer that down, throw some more coil on there, and hopefully I can get that nut out of there. Well, the way I see it, if you got a part off of the car, you might as well give it a little bit of paint. There, so I pounded the cage square around the rectangular nut and I put a socket in there so now it'll push against the thicker steel. So theoretically, this should come out of here. I hope. Damn it. Okay. Come on out of there, stupid rusty nut. Nope. Shit. Ah. Man, it's this kind of stuff that just eats into a restoration Saturday. Let's see how this works. Wrong way. Yeah, wrong way. Ha ha ha! S-U-C-C-S-S. I can't even spell.
I'm not a smart man.
S-U-C-C-E-S-S. Man, oh man. So I had to do a little modified tooling there to fit in that little tiny window to get on those flats. This is the culprit. So now I guess I can put the frame connector in, tighten the bolt down, and then bend that safety cage over top of it. Man, what a pain. What a dumb design. So a restoration is made up of like 1,001 little tasks, and inevitably one turns into another. So of course I painted the outside of the inner fender, and then I was going to paint the inside, and it was covered in mud. So I went, okay, well, I can't paint over the mud, so I could, but I won't. So I cleaned that off of there with a car washer, but then I'm like, oh, well, I better do the other side. So now I gotta take the other inner fender out, wash that one out, and then I can paint them both. But this is just, like I say, what eats into a restoration Saturday. But with every little job that gets ticked off the list, that's one less I need to do, and it's one step closer to getting the car finished. But man, oh man, what a lot of work these projects are. You know, that actually wasn't such a bad idea to take the inner fender out on both sides, because now when I start working on my Wilwood brakes, I've got better access to the brake booster because I got a new brake master cylinder and booster to put on there. And now I can get in here a hell of a lot easier. I can paint up all the other areas and spots in behind. So yeah, I think that's a necessity. Learning as I go here, folks. I've restored 2 semi trucks, but I've never restored a car. So kind of, like I say, learning as I go. But definitely disassembling more helps makes jobs easier. Okay, so just reading the instructions. I know, not like me, but these are a little more complicated, so I want to make sure I get it right. So there's different bushings. So the subframe has originally three rubber bushings. The back, the middle one that I've been fighting with, and I finally got out of there. And then there's a forward one up here, well, I guess up there, under the radiator. So there's 3 connections from this subframe assembly. Now, I could actually roll this whole assembly out onto the car, put the Butler engine on there and the transmission, and then roll it back in. So that's for a ponder for a future thought, because that might be a lot easier than trying to slide it in, because all I'd have to do is loosen these off. So what I might do is put them in place and then not really tighten them down, because like I say, I might want to take the subframe out and set the engine on there and then put it back under the car. But I'll get them all in place anyway. So the back ones here, like essentially these are replacing the rubber bushings with aluminum. So you got a male and a female connector that connects the subframe assembly to the body of the car. Now, try and get the old crusty ones out of here. Yeah, that's probably still good. Junk. Okay, now it goes in like this. Perfect. And then this guy goes like so. And then this goes up to that nut, which I probably should have tacked down. I'm just gonna grab, oh, look at that, it did actually grab. Okay, so good. So that one's done. Now I need to do the same up front here for the middle. Okay. Now, I may have to put the wheels back on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Well, I could try and pry it up, maybe. I don't know if I'll have enough leverage. No. Okay, I gotta put the wheels back on so I can use the scissor lift to lift up the body and separate it from the subframe. There, I should be able to get that out of there. Oh, just barely. Okay, perfect. Put that guy back in. Now I can let it down. Oh, wrong way, Mark. Haha. This scissor lift from Wildfire Lifts is mint. Man, it makes jobs like this easy. Okay, so now, okay, I'll go on there like that, and then into that. Man, that compressor's noisy. There, done. Easy peasy. Nothing's easy. Oh, I'm an idiot. I just realized I put the back bushing in without connecting in the frame connector. So I guess I gotta go back and do that. Oh, sometimes I get over my skis. So I have to pry it forward to get it to work. Now, getting the bolt to hit that very forward one is going to be tricky. Long needle nose pliers, I bet, and a little bit of swearing. But that's how you tie in the front subframe with the engine and transmission, and how you connect it into the back. So this is the front bracket, obviously, for the leaf spring, and it just kind of ties it together so when you hit the gas, the whole car doesn't roll. Because again, this middle section, the only thing holding the front to the back is the thin body metal and the metal in the doors. Because of course there's nothing up top with the T-top. So I think frame connectors are a must if you're gonna put a decent engine in these old fire chickens. They actually had a pretty good suggestion in the instructions there, is to use a paper towel to hold the nut or keep the nut in the closed end of the box wrench. So I could actually get in there. How am I just get my paper towel off? There we go. One down, two to go. Oh, good movie. So just like this, put a piece of paper towel in there, and it just causes just enough resistance to not fall out. Actually a pretty good idea. I'll have to use that down the road. That's one reason I like to work on big trucks, is you don't have to get in these tight locations as often. There's usually more room to work. With a car, there's just all these little tiny spots to try and get into. Okay, so now what I'll do is tighten up the main. I thought it was fun. Let's see, maybe 100 foot-pounds, I think is what they call for. Okay, now I can tighten the back ones up and do the same to the other side. That'll do, Donkey, that'll do. Okay, now I just need to do the two at the front. Yes, it would. Done. I christened the frame connectors connected. Yeah, that's cool. I'm digging that. Only took me 2 Saturdays to put them in there. Okay, next project. The reason I stalled out on the rear diff is because I realized that I've got to put the rear sway bar on. And if you recall a couple episodes ago, I actually ended up ordering the incorrect sway bar. It was for a coilover suspension. So I actually sent that back to Summit. They were really great about it. Once they finally received it, they gave me money back. And they sent me the new one. So let's take this out of the box and, oh, good movie, and see if this is the right gear. Okie doke, I think this is gonna work. So this is the original rear sway bar. So Pontiac had a Firebird, and they had 3 models. They had like a Formula, I forget what the middle one was, and then Sprint maybe, and then of course the Firebird. So the Firebird was the fancy one with the fancy suspension, the wussy motor, because that's all they were making in the late 70s. But this car came factory with front and rear sway bars. So this is the original one here. And the way it works is it ties up into these brackets up at the top of the frame, and then it ties back in, well, I must have it backwards. It ties in down here to the leaf mount, something like that. So the new sway bar, I've just got a copy of it. It actually comes with new arms. So they'll go like so. I just got to figure out which side is which. They'll go something like that and hang down, and that's what's going to support the sway bar to the frame. And then there's other bushings that go down to the brackets there. And the whole point of a sway bar, if you don't know, is when you go around the corner, these old cars would roll. So if you did a sharp turn to the left, the whole car would roll. But if you have a front and rear sway bar, it actually stabilizes it and resists that natural tendency for the car to roll as you go around the corner. So basically it keeps it stiff like a race car, and you can go around the corner on all 4 tires in a real big hurry. So I guess I'll just start bolting this thing together. I'm probably going to get it wrong at least 2 or 3 times and have to unbolt it. But I'm going to get it in there one way or another. Yeah, pretty straightforward installation. Not quite straight. There, something like that. There, now I can do chin-ups. Okay, sway bar done. Now I guess I still need to torque up the plates here. I forget what the torque rating is. But what I was worried about was hang on, I'll show you. I got myself a real spiffy diff cover here. Because again, it's only a 10 bolt and not a 12 bolt. So I wanted to give it all the help it could get. So those little plugs there are set to hold the bearings from blowing out of this thing. But I was worried there wasn't going to be enough room with the sway bar to clear this, but yeah, there's going to be more than enough when it finally goes all the way forward to the face there. So I'm really happy with that. That was worrying me. Okay, I'll finish torquing this up, and then I'll focus on attacking the diff cover. So I just checked in 1/2 inch thread, which would be a 3/4 bolt head or a 3/4 inch nut. is 90 to 95 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go on the high side and do these at 95. And they also say you're to torque these up. Well, maybe I'll zip them in first with the impact. You also got to torque them up after like 500 miles. So after the first few burnouts, when I get this car built, I'll have to throw this thing back on the lift and make sure everything's still torqued down. Good. Done. Okay. On to the diff cover. That's cool. All right, so first up, I need to put the C-clips in to hold the axles in place. So did I get the right socket here? Yeah, I think so. Actually, let's try that new light from Cabela's. Oh, nice. So there's a notch on the end of each axle, and there's these little C-clips that hold it in place. Keep the axle from dancing out. Okay. There. Okay. Yeah, I should be able to see where the C-clips go. Oh yeah. Now because this has the spring for the posi, I'm going to push the axle in, and now you can see that. Well, hopefully you can see that. Let's see. And all I need to do is use a magnet and walk it in there. No. There we go. And I'll pull the axle out so it seats in. And that axle ain't going anywhere. There. One down, one to go. I should have a flat screwdriver. There it goes. There. C-clips in. Now I can put the pin back in. And that's what keeps, because you're probably wondering, well, what keeps the C-clips in there? Once I push the pin back in, now the axles can't go forward to the center anymore. There it goes. And just like that, the C-clips are put in place. Now, the cover has these bolts, these support bolts, which are basically just little rubber blocks that hold and push against the bearing there and give it extra support, so when you really torque it, the bearings don't snap off of there. I mean, it's a 10 bolt, it's been rebuilt with all new Yukon gear, new axles, and I'm not going to abuse this car. I'm not going to put on slicks and run it down the drag strip. So I'm pretty sure that this rebuilt, all new bearings, this rebuilt 10 bolt will definitely hold, because the tires are just going to let go. Little 15-inch tires, they're going to be the first thing to pop. But it never hurts to have a little extra support. I know there's car experts out there that, oh, you should have put a 12 bolt in. Well, the 10 bolt was already in the car, so I decided to go with the 10 bolt and rebuild that. Now I did back out the bolts there for these little pins, because as you tighten it up, you don't actually want to preload or put pressure on there. So I backed those out, and then there's a set procedure to put them back in place. Okay, now these guys, what does it say? Screw the two low bolts in by hand until they make contact, and then torque them to 5 foot-pounds. There we go. Okay. Now, I need a torque wrench and go to 5 foot-pounds. Oh man. So all my torque wrenches, nothing goes below 25 foot-pounds. So I had to go to my little inch-pound torque wrench that I used when I was putting the bearings and stuff in there and setting the pinion nut. So I had to rig up a little bit of gear there to make it work. And with inch-pounds, to go from foot-pounds to inch-pounds, you basically times it by 12. So 5 foot-pounds would be 60 inch-pounds. So, let's see here. 50, 60, 60. I'll try and tighten the nut. I guess what I'll do is hold it in place. Okay. Done. Man, that looks good. So, of course, I'm getting it all dirty with my greasy fingers. Now, this is cool because it's I got the fill plug there, and then I also got a magnetic drain plug. So if there's any metal particulate, it'll capture on the magnet there. So this is way better than the stock, and it's, of course, made in America. All right, so with that, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. That was all the stuff that I wanted to accomplish. The frame connectors, finish that up, the rear sway, and the rear diff cover. So it's getting a little closer, little by little. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't, but hope you enjoyed it. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. And like I always say, don't ever forget, if you got it, truckers brought it.